Hello, in this video I'd like to go over options you have for Worldox archiving, and I'll cover the three methods that are available within Worldox GX4. First one being manual archiving, the second being archiving based on document retention policies, and then the third option being a bulk archiving connector, which is an add-on product. So for manual archiving, it's a manual process. Once you set it up, you basically go into the Worldox client, you tag the files that you want to archive, and then you archive them. It does get the job done, but it's not the best choice if you have a lot of files that need archiving. So if you have a site that you have hundreds of thousands of documents or millions of documents and you're just getting started in archiving, choosing manual archiving would probably not be the best choice to get a lot of those documents archived, but it will work. It'll just take you more time to get there. Then you have document retention policies. With document retention policies, you can reset retention policies based on cabinet field table values. So popular choices for this are the doc type field or the matter field. So what we see in a lot of our corporate sites is they actually have document retention policies set up within their corporations, and they have expiration dates for those doc types, such as a letter will exist for X number of years and it needs to be archived, or a memo for X number of years and archived, or notes for X number of years and need to be deleted. So there's ways you can set up a retention value for each doc type field within your cabinet, and then based on those values, you can either archive or delete those files. Another choice that we see popular within law firm environments is their matter field. So as they close a matter in their time and billing or accounting system, they may say once it's closed in there, 3 months later or 1 month later or 6 months later, we want those files archived in Worldox. And so what you could do then is just edit the matter code within Worldox and put an expiration date on it, and once the documents meet that criteria, then they'll be archived and sent to the archive location. So once again, each field table code gets its own retention value, and they can either be archived, delete, or do nothing. The indexer handles the archiving as a scheduled event. So what's nice about this is once you set up your document retention policies, you can add a scheduled event to the indexer, and let's say one night a week over the weekend, it can go through your Worldox cabinets and see if any documents meet that criteria, and then either archive them if they're set to be archived or delete them if they are set to be deleted. So that can be taken care of behind the scenes for you. Or you can go into WD admin and have it run a manual archive based on your document retention policies. And then you also have the bulk archiving connector. Now this is an add-on purchase, and it's ideal for sites with large document stores that have never archived before. So if you find yourself in a position where you've got large hundreds of thousands of documents or millions of documents and you just now want to start archiving, you may want to look into this bulk archiving connector. It does have load balancing in it, so it can archive only during a certain time. So when you first kick off a job and you say, I want to archive everything in our system that's older than X or older than Y, it can actually start that large job, and when it hits a certain time, let's say 8 a.m. in the morning, it can pause the job and wait until 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night, then it can resume the job. So it's only actually doing archiving and putting that load on your system during off hours. So you can basically start the job, and if it takes a long time for this job to run, maybe days or weeks, depending on how many documents you're trying to archive, you can have it run and then just pause itself so it's not putting that load on while users are trying to use the system. It has a lot more options also than the built-in archiving. So if you want more information on the bulk archiving connector, I'm not going to actually get into it in the series of videos on archiving, but you can check the Worldox.com site, go to worldox.com/connectors and click on the bulk archiving connector, or if you just go to worldox.com and click on products and choose the connectors link, you'll find the bulk archiving connector listed in there. Now, as far as archiving locations, you've got two options. You can just take the default, and what it'll do is once you start archiving, it'll just create a hidden archive folder underneath the cabinet's base path and just move the documents there, or you can select a secondary location. So once again, the default location would be under the same cabinet folder structure. For the secondary location, what you should do is create a new network share for archiving. And the advantages to selecting a secondary location is once you do that, it'll have separate databases for the archive, because when Worldox indexes, it's going to index based on the network share. So you have one network share you already have set up for your cabinets that are pointing to. If you create a new network share for the archive, that's going to get its own set of separate databases. So those databases will be separate from your production databases. And what this will do is as you archive files, it's going to reduce the size of your production databases because it's going to get all those archive files out of there. And you'll have less files to index on your production side. So what you'll wind up with is faster searching on your production side and also faster database build times on your production side. Now, your secondary location can be set up on a different hard drive if it is in the same physical location. So we don't want you to try and set up something where you're archiving over a WAN or internet connection. For example, like you have your data up in the cloud and you want to set up a server in your office and you want to archive from the cloud over a internet connection down to a server in your office. That you're not going to be able to set up a situation like that. But if you want to add another hard drive to your storage at your physical location and create the share on that new drive because you're running out of disk space on the production drive, yeah, you can do that. That's fully supported. Okay, so that's the end of the slides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into WD Admin and I'm going to go into cabinets. And since these videos, I'm going to concentrate on archiving from the client files. I'm going to choose my client files cabinet. Now, if you're going to take the default location, there's nothing you have to do here. So if, let's say you're a site that you're a small site, you don't have that many documents, you just basically want documents archived. So as you're browsing the cabinet folder structure, you're not seeing closed matter folders or old documents that you want archived still leading in there that you have to filter through, and you just want to get those out of the way. You know, that's fine just to use the default location. But if you're at a site where you've got a large quantity of documents that you want to start archiving and you want to set up this secondary location, then what you can do is you can go into your cabinet, choose the archive under secondary locations, and then we need to put the path in here. Now I'm going to go into Windows Explorer real quick, and here's my server, and on my server I created a new share, and I called this share archive. And when you create this new share, you want to make sure that you have a short share name with no spaces or special characters in there. That's why I just called it archive. It's only 7 characters long. You want to keep it 8 characters less on your share name for this. And when I shared it out, I shared it as read write to the group for everyone. Then I went in and added domain users to it and gave them full permissions except for full control and special permissions. I gave them everything else. Then I went, so I have this shared out as archive. And underneath here, I created a new folder called WD for Worldox. And what we're going to do is we're going to have all the secondary locations for archiving under this WD folder. So I'll just select this, and I'll just copy this path to the clipboard, and then I'm just going to paste it in here. So now this is going to set up my secondary location for archiving. And at this point, I'll just save the cabinet. Now, another thing, too, that you want to make sure of is before you start archiving, you want to think about, you know, do we want to use the default location, or does it make sense for us to use the secondary? What you want to try and avoid is archiving to the default, get hundreds of thousands of documents archived, and then say, oh, we should put it in a secondary, and then choose the secondary, because when you do that, it'll let you do it, but it's going to then migrate all those documents that you've already archived from the current location to the new secondary location, and you're going to have to wait while all that processes. And depending on how many files you have in there, it may take a long time to move everything from the current default archive location to the secondary. So, think about that and decide which option you're going to go with so that you don't have to run into migrating a second time because you chose the default from the get-go and now you want to change to a secondary. Okay, so it doesn't matter too also whether you're using the default manual archiving, document retention policies, or the bulk archive connector. Whether you take the default or set up the secondary, it's the same. So it's not different for either of those. You'd go through the same setup process. And now that's what I wanted to cover in this video. In the additional videos, I'll cover how you set up document retention policies and how you set up for manual archiving.